You're listening to the Mental Game Gym podcast, the place where athletes, parents, and coaches build the mental skills that lead to consistent, confident performance. We explore presence, resilience, values, and everything that fuels a stronger mind. Here's your host, mental performance coach Andrew Crome. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome back to the Mental Game Gym podcast, where we train the mental side of sports so you can show up your best when it matters the most. And whether you're setting fresh goals for this year, this season, coming off a break, or you're gearing up for competition, there is no better time to sharpen your mental game. I'm your coach and host, Andrew Crome, and today we are kicking off the year with a skill that I believe separates consistent performers from emotional roller coasters, and that is mindfulness. Now, before you picture monks meditating in silence, stay with me, because mindfulness, when used in the right way, is a competitive advantage. It helps you stay composed, stay focused, and perform when pressure spikes. And I'm going to walk you through a simple, powerful reset tool that I teach called C.A.L.M. And we'll also break down what mindfulness really is, because I think there are a lot of people out there who have a misconception about what it is and what it isn't. I'm also going to bust a big myth about it, and then also walk you through some real world game examples and look at the science behind why mindfulness can work. So let's dive in and look at what really is mindfulness. And to put it simply and to strip it all down, mindfulness means being fully present, on purpose, and without judgment. It's the ability to notice what is happening right now, inside of you and also outside, instead of getting stuck in the past or jumping ahead to what could happen in the future. And this is what a lot of athletes or people in general just get stuck with. They're often thinking about a mistake that they've made or something that has happened, or they're worrying about what could happen in the future. So in a game, if you miss a shot, if you're using mindfulness and practicing and training it, it can help you respond instead of reacting. Or you feel nerves before a big serve. Mindfulness can help you feel those nerves, but you're not going to freak out. And it's not about having a clear mind. It's about having a focused mind. And it's also a thing that it's trainable. I hear a lot of people say that some things aren't trainable, some things you just are born with. Mindfulness and learning how to handle pressure situations is something that we can train, just like your physical reps. Building muscle, mental reps build focus, build awareness. So here's our first Mental Mythbusters segment of the year, where we take a popular mental performance myth and crush it with facts. And today's myth is mindfulness means clearing your mind. And this is something that I hear about quite a lot. People say, well, I can't practice mindfulness because I can't clear my mind. But your brain is wired to think. You're not supposed to clear your mind. You're supposed to focus it. Dr. Amishi Jha, a neuroscientist who studies attention in high-performance settings, puts it, mindfulness is not about stopping thoughts. It's about learning to notice them without getting hooked. So when you think, I can't miss the shot, mindfulness does not make that thought disappear, but it helps you not let that thought run your game or get hooked by that thought. And we've talked about that before, about getting hooked by thoughts. Mindfulness is not a way of being able to clear your mind so that nothing is going on and you're getting rid of all these negative thoughts and feelings. They're always going to be there, but what mindfulness does is helps you stay in the present and notice what's happening without the judgment, and then you have the power to choose what you're going to focus on. Where am I going to focus on now? What is going to help me? So if you think, well, I can't sit here and meditate for 5 minutes because my mind doesn't stop, That's what's supposed to happen. And the more you practice, the more you'll recognize and be able to unhook from these thoughts and just let them go by you. So let's look at some reasons. Well, why should you maybe practice mindfulness? Why is it going to help my performance? And let's look at science here. So a 2024 meta-analysis of mindfulness-based interventions in sport found that mindfulness training produced large effect sizes for improved sports performance. It also enhanced mindfulness levels and reduced psychological anxiety. And that's data from over 300 athletes across multiple studies. Another review found that athletes who trained mindfulness showed greater flow states, reduced stress, and more effective emotional regulation. And that is something that I see a lot of with athletes that I work with in the initial stages, is that emotional regulation isn't quite there. They don't know how to handle these situations because it's a skill they haven't been taught. And that is my job. So what does that mean for you? If we're improving all of these aspects, then you're able to bounce back faster from mistakes. You're better able to focus under pressure. You feel more confident and present. And that gives you a competitive edge, a competitive advantage over your opponent. So being able to recognize what's happening, what thoughts and what emotions and everything else that's happening, and then staying calm and staying in control and making sure that you choose what you're going to do, where you're going to put your focus. And knowing that these thoughts don't have to be viewed as truth, you can decide, does this thought help me? Does this thought not help me? So let's look at what happens when athletes aren't using these skills. So one recent example, I was watching Canada versus Czechia in the semi-final at the World Juniors a few days ago. Canada managed to tie the game 4-4 in the third, a few minutes to go. You thought momentum had shifted and they might go on and control the rest of the game and win. But instead of staying composed, what I saw was chaos and frantic plays, forcing plays, chasing the game emotionally. And there's obviously a lot of pressure in this game. A country is looking at them, expecting them to win gold. They haven't won gold in the last 2 years. They got knocked out in earlier rounds. And then in this situation, the Czechs scored 2 late goals and they won 6-4. And the same thing happened at the weekend in the Old Firm in soccer. Rangers versus Celtic. Celtic dominated the first half. They went 1-0 up and they went in. They could have scored more. Halftime, it was 1-0. But then in the second half, Rangers changed something and they put them under pressure. And that forced mistakes. You could see the drop in composure. You could see the drop in focus and confidence. And Rangers capitalized on that and ended up winning 3-1. So in both of these games, it wasn't talent that failed. Everybody can see that all of these players have the talent. It was their ability to handle the pressure in that moment. And that's the gap that C.A.L.M can help you fill. So let me introduce C.A.L.M to you. It's a 4-part mental reset tool that you can use anytime performance pressure spikes. And it stands for choice. So here we're choosing to act with intention. We're not reacting to the situation. Pressure wants you to react. Your brain wants you to react, right? It wants you to snap at a teammate or shut down or panic, try too hard, not try enough. Mindfulness gives you space to choose instead. Athletes who train mindfulness display greater self-regulation and cognitive control. And that's from a study in 2024. So next time you feel that heat rising, pause, breathe, and choose how you want to show up. And I think this really helps with people that I work with, is that when they realize that they have a choice. Something happens. And we talked about it before when we looked at E plus R equals O. It's not the event that leads to the outcome. It's your response and the event that leads to the outcome. So you have a big part to play in this situation. When people realize that I have the control, I can decide how I'm going to act in this moment, gives them the power back, gives them belief that if things go wrong, I can handle it because I know what I need to do in that situation. And my brain isn't going to do things for me. I'm not going to panic. I can take control. That's where mindfulness and preparation in general is such a huge part of the work that I do with athletes. Because if you're not prepared for something, then you aren't going to be able to handle it. So we look at all the different situations that could come up. If this happens, what are you going to do? And they plan for it. They go through it in their mind. They write it down. They visualize it. Then when or if that situation comes up, they know what they need to do. So if you plan for those situations, you're going to be in a better position to make the right choice, right? So that's choice. Now we looked at A, which is adapt. So you need to be able to adapt to the moment. And great athletes can adjust. They can adapt. Mindful athletes notice what's happening and they adapt without resistance. Maybe the game plan changes. Maybe the opposition has changed their tactics, or the ref has missed a call and you get subbed out. Instead of spiraling out of control, you ask a simple question, 3 words. What's needed now? And you just look at the facts. There's no emotion involved. You're not getting hooked up and caught up with all that emotion. And being able to adapt is a skill, and it's something that requires practice. So the L is let go. So handling that emotional wave and dropping the baggage. And letting go doesn't mean that you ignore the mistake or pretend that you're not mad. It means that you acknowledge what happened, again, without judgment, without emotion, and then you release it so that you can stay in the present, stay in the moment, stay in the game. A study in 2024 found that brief mindfulness interventions reduced athletic burnout and improved mood in high-pressure training environments. So if we can drop the mistake, drop the tension, and then move on with what is the next thing that I need to do. And then we move on to M, which is mental focus. This is where you get locked in on your process. Mental focus is the anchor. And every athlete that I work with comes up with a game script. We work together to figure out what is their game script. And that is 3 controllable and visualizable actions to focus on in every game or training session. So that might be aggressive footwork, clear voice on defense, attack the net. And your game script brings you back when your mind wanders off. And so does your game face. Those 3 words or that animal that you use to compete like your best self. Repeating those words remind you of how you need to act in this moment. What kind of athlete, what kind of person do you want to be right now? What's going to help you perform at your best? Both of those things, the script and the game face, bring you back to that. Remind you of, this is who I am right now. This is how I act. Despite the thoughts, the feelings, the mistakes, the pressure, everything else that's going on. And that connects everything else in your mental game. So let's do a C.A.L.M reset together. And I want you to, if you can, if it's safe to do so, close your eyes. And I want you to picture a moment where you feel pressure. Think of a recent experience where you felt pressure. Maybe it was a tight game or a tough call, high stakes. So let's go through and look at choice. I want you to take a deep breath and think about what's one action that you can choose now. If you were in that situation again, what's one action that you can choose right now that's going to help you? And let's look at adapt. What do you need to adjust to in this moment? And then I want you to feel the tension and exhale it. I want you to breathe out the tension. And when you do that, visualize that tension leaving your body. Maybe it has a color. And then the final step is mental focus. What controllable are you locked into next? What is something that you need to focus on that's going to help you in this moment? And that's one C.A.L.M reset. Simple, trainable, and powerful. Okay, so if you did close your eyes, open them again, and let's look at your weekly challenge, how we can apply it to our everyday lives. Because it's not just for game day, right? We can use it before practice, after a mistake, during a timeout, and in day-to-day life, before a test, a meeting, or in any situation where you find yourself a little bit frustrated or under pressure, or maybe a difficult situation, a difficult conversation that you've had. So your challenge this week is I want you to use C.A.L.M once a day. It doesn't matter where you do it, but if you just start building the habit, then when pressure shows up, you'll already have the mental reps in place. You'll be better able to act how you want to in the moment, right? And we have to plan for these things that come up, right? The same thing is if we're doing a test or if we're doing a presentation, for example, we have to do the preparation, right? I'm sure that we've all gone into a situation where we've not really done the prep. Think back to like how you felt in that moment when the pressure is on and you realize, well, I've not prepared for this. And from my experience, like going back to my school days or university days, I definitely did that. And when I got into that situation, I felt the pressure. I wasn't able to focus on the questions in front of me because I was too busy worrying about what's going to happen if I don't pass this exam. And I was also thinking about why didn't I spend time studying, right? If I could only go back and do that. So I was wasting my time and I was getting myself all worked up, and then I wasn't able to focus on the task at hand. Okay, so let's bring it home and think, well, mindfulness isn't about being calm all the time, right? It's about staying in control when things get chaotic. And C.A.L.M gives you that reset that you can use to stay grounded, adapt quickly, and perform with purpose. And the research backs it up. Professionals, whether that's in sport or otherwise, use it. And now it's in your toolbox too. It's something that you can go and use, right? So if this episode helped you, then I want you to share it with a teammate, share it with a friend, a coach. And if you want the C.A.L.M visual, then check the show notes or follow me at the Mental Game Gym on Instagram. And here's to a focused, intentional, and resilient year ahead. Until next time, stay grounded, stay focused, and stay calm.